first of all, Guillaume, for anyone who is not familiar with the show, could you tell us a little bit about what The Nature of Forgetting is about and what its central themes are?
Sure. And then Callum, you can sort of interrupt if you feel like I've missed out on anything. It's like, it's not true. That's not what this was about at all. He's lying. So the nature of forgetting is the story of Tom. Tom is living with young onset dementia, and it's his birthday. And we're discovering on the day of his birthday, and he's being looked after. He's being cared for by his daughter Sophie, and she's helping him to get dressed for the party. And as he's getting dressed, the feel of the clothes on the rack trigger memories, and this is the start of the show. And throughout the show, we will explore Tom's Tom's mind, Tom's memory, Tom's life through his sort of broken memories, because obviously he's living with his young onset dementia, and that's what the show is about. It's interesting because as soon as I say the word dementia, everyone is thinking that it's a show about dementia. I would say, and I'd be curious to know what you think about this, Callum, but I don't think it's a show about dementia. I think it's quite the opposite. I think it's a show about life. It's a show about the fragility of life. It's a show about what is left of an individual when memories are gone. So it's a show about what is eternal, what will never die, what will always be true, what will always be there. That's what we explore in the show, um, and I think that's what it's about. Callum, do you feel like I've missed out on anything?
Um, no, not particularly. I think that's pretty clear, really, of what it's about. I think it's seeing, yeah, it's the memories really are the key point for me of what is it's what's there, even if that's hidden, that it actually might still be there and getting around it. I think, yeah, as Guillaume says, it's very easy to quickly go, oh, it's a show about dementia. It's going to mean this, 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 and this, which I think for a viewer it restricts you because I think if you go in with that mindset, then it's you won't get the full beauty of the actual piece. But yeah, I think you covered it quite well, Guillaume. Well done.
Yeah, I think it's really celebratory. It's a celebration of it's a celebration of Tom's life. I think it's really important to know that. And obviously it's interesting in theatre when you want to show something, you usually do something else. And so if because we're making a show about life, we're making a show about the celebration of someone's life.
Mm.
Then we have to, we're using dementia as a tool to sort of allow us to celebrate that life. um I think the type of work that we're making is we're never quite doing what we're doing just to do what we're doing. We always try to do something else. We always try to enter the realm of metaphors, the realm of yeah, metaphors. So it's poetic. So we're not doing what we're doing just to do what we're doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Callum, a question for you then. Can you tell us a little bit about your role in the production and what appealed to you about working with Theatre E after you did your training with Fourth Monkey?
So I play the character of Mike, who is Tom's best friend. So we're together through everything, right from the beginning, from school all the way up till adult life, which is a lovely blessing for an actor to get to perform a character throughout many years, which is part of the thing that really appealed me to the part. And I think, yeah, what appealed me to work with Theatre Re was I was incredibly fortunate that I got to work with Guillaume when I did the Yom course doing corporeal mime, and then again on the 2 year in the classes, and they came in to do our devised season, and then again we did it for our final season where we reimagined it again. And I think with my year group in particular, we really took to it and we loved it. Not straight away at the start. At the start, it was quite hard work. I think can be very stressful trying to get everything right. But then when it clicks, it's incredible. And Fourth Monkey were the ones who pushed me to actually go and see The Nature of Forgetting when I was there. That was being performed at Shoreditch Town Hall. And so without that little push, I may not have seen it. And it's it's a bizarre, wonderful thing for me to be able to then be in a production that I've also seen as an audience member. And yeah, through the connection with Fourth Monkey, I wouldn't be in this position. And through the ethos of Fourth Monkey, where it's very much encouraged. You should be sweaty. You should be working hard. You should be getting involved in this. It made me really respect the work that was producing and wanted me to be able to emulate it in some way that I could myself. Yeah.
Amazing. So looking at the production itself, this may be a question for Guillaume, but Calum, do jump in as well. How do you feel the show has evolved and developed since the previous international tour you did in 2019?
It's a really tricky question, I think, because we're so close to it that it's difficult to say how it's changing. It's like when you have a child, obviously the child is growing, and you can see that it's growing and changing, but sometimes it takes someone, like a grandparent who hasn't seen the child for a long time to sort of say, "Ah, wow, this has happened," and you go like, "Oh yeah, that's true." So I think it'd be interesting, to see what people who had, because when we opened back in 2017 at the London International Mime Festival, we'd never performed the show anywhere else before. It was the first time. So now we've performed it about 150 times, and it's traveled a lot. And the way we work is that it has to change. The work has to change. And even within the space that Calum has been with us, things have been changing, and because otherwise it dies. And I think that's the beauty of live theatre. It has to change in order to stay alive. We have to constantly challenge and push each other in making new connections, making new discoveries, to keep enriching the work. Not to say that the production is better, but it needs to keep evolving. I don't really believe in the notion of progress in art, but the notion of evolution, of transformation, I think is really important. And so how is it different? I don't know. I don't know how it's different, but it is different. The connections are different. I think it's interesting what Calum was saying earlier about the opportunity to be able to explore a character at different stages of their lives. And I think it's really important because then it forces us as actors to be very specific with the imagination, to be very specific about how we embody that imagination and how we make it visible, and how we let people see, the inner secret life of Tom and the other characters. So I think I'm going off a tangent here, but I think the idea is that it is always different. It must change, and hopefully, if you've seen the show, if you come back, it will be the same, but it will be different. And then if you've never seen the show, hopefully it will resonate with you as much as it resonated with people when they first came to see it a few years back.
Yeah, brilliant. Calum, do you have anything on that one?
I think there's lots of, particularly because there's been slight changes in cast and stuff like that. So there's like musicians that I personally haven't worked with and stuff like that and things. And there's subtle changes that come from that, which can have a big impact. And what's really lovely about it is that it's very unpredictable what that change will then create, and if that's going to be useful. And I think even if the cast had stayed exactly the same, what was really nice is knowing that going into that environment, it would be exactly the same concept, that something would change. You come in and you feel a certain way, and you play a different way, and then that can lead to something else. And if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, you've tried it. It's really good. So there's always, I don't think I've had a rehearsal, or in fact show really, that something's not changed and developed, and that might be a really minimal thing, but that could change a audience member's perspective of a certain part of the piece. And I think that's part of the magic of it, and keeping it, as Guillaume says, keeping it alive and keeping it moving forward.
I was going to say that's amazing. Amazing, thank you. And a sort of a similar question, but what reflections do you both have on your previous experiences of touring the show, particularly internationally? And do you feel this has changed or evolved, or are you expecting it to change kind of post-COVID, post-Brexit, as it were?
So is this a question more for, within the team, or is it about the show itself, Hetty? What
I'd
did you
say
envision?
about the show itself, but also as a team, just as a theatre company, it feels like the arts have changed quite a lot over the last few years. And I was just wondering if you have noticed that, or if you felt that, or if you're anticipating anything to be slightly different this time around.
Do you mind if I start, Callum? Is that all right?
Yeah, go for it.
I'd say for me, because obviously I'm running theatre, so I think what's really important, it was true before COVID, it was even more true during COVID, and it's even more true now. It's really important to develop very strong relationships in terms of trust with the company members, because obviously, sometimes we would have long tour, 4 or 5 weeks, in a different country. So the company it means a lot, because that's, these are the only people that you really spend a lot of time with. So I think there needs to be a really good atmosphere within the team. There needs to be trust. There need to be trust for obviously all the life related things, like sharing driving or sharing hotel rooms and that sort of thing. So it's more than having to get on with other people. It's really about trusting them in a very deep and meaningful way. And I think that has a reflection on what happens on stage. The fact that we're all trusting each other very much. Someone will make an offer, and that offer will be accepted, and not only will be accepted, but will be sort of developed into something else. So I think it's the idea of trust, and I think that idea of trust extends to all the different things that we are now going to have to do because of Brexit, where it's just a lot more things that needs to happen, that needs to be put in place, and so it's really important to just be able to talk to each other, to rely on each other, to be in touch with each other, I'd say for me, trust is the key word there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the trust. I mean, particularly COVID times as well, when everything stopped. It was quite sad, and obviously a bit like, I've got this feeling I want to go out and do things, but then having that element of trust within the company and within the show that it will be back, it will be fine. Things will take time and they'll progress. And without that element of trust, you can find yourself going down quite a rabbit hole very easily. So it's one of the beautiful things about working with theatre is that it's apparent from the second you come into the room, really. And I think in terms of, again, so I don't know too much of the Brexity side, because a lot of that gets done in the background and left with Guillaume to manage. But for the COVID stuff, I think there's it's quite a nervous energy in general. I found it myself and with other people getting a part in something, but then not really celebrating that because you still aren't convinced it's actually going to happen until it happens, because you've got so close. And so I think there's the moment I'll properly celebrate that it's done is when it's finished, really be like, yes, I managed to actually, we're allowed to do this, we can actually do it. And very much looking forward to being able to have that lovely feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's interesting. Sorry, Hetty, to sort of jump back on what Calum was saying. It's interesting this idea, this element of trust, which I think also echoes the ethos of the company, where so we don't really do auditions. We tend to work with people that we've met in the room, that we've met through workshops, that we've met through formal training, like like Calum through the Year of the Monkey, which is now the Cert HE or HE or the BA. So it's really so it's really important that when people come and start working with the company, that we've already established that element of trust, and that I think plays a big part in the amount of boldness that we can find in the room. We don't need to be, obviously we're safe, we're safe with each other, it's a safe environment, but it's not a polite environment, and I think that's really important. And I think that is developed through training, to the fact that Calum and I before he already knew Calum before he even stepped into the room, because we'd done 2 shows actually, and I'd been, working with Calum for 3 years. So there was that sort of confidence in and in the trust, and also that without being too comfortable with people that one already knows, but there was a sense of there was a sense of comfort and the ability to sort of build on that confidence to be really bold, to be really ambitious, to take risk, because there was that safety net that we were able to build together on, I guess.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that feeling of being like really part of a company that trusts each other, I guess, is so important if you're touring and you're going to spend a lot of time together as well. Like that feeling of, as you said, like really trusting each other, really knowing each other, and really knowing how to work together.
It's massive because, well, like, as Guillaume said, it doesn't. The show is only one element of the tour. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not going to have someone who's also going to help pitch in when you're packing up the van and getting things done properly, then the same focused, it's a very quick road to a bad place. So, yeah.
Yeah, I always think that's the real test, isn't it? If you want to work with someone, do they offer to do things like pack everything up again or go and make everyone a coffee? It's not just about how they work, it's about who they are as a person and as a team player. Okay, so you are returning to an incredibly successful piece of work after some equally successful new projects since you first brought The Nature of Forgetting to life. And how do you feel about returning to something that was so successful previously? And I wonder if you feel any need to reinvent or reimagine it slightly. Maybe a question for Guillaume, but also for Calum in terms of your role and how you're going to approach this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to say that we've already been back in the room. So we have done a period of redevelopment / remounting in September. So had we had that chat before that week, I would have been like, oh God, I don't know, Hetty. Is it going to work? Is it going to work? Are we just microwaving a piece? Are we just doing something again for no particular reason, something that was successful in the past and that doesn't really deserve to have a further life? I was full of doubts, I was full of questions, and it was good to be full of doubts and questions, because then it really forced us to rediscover, to reinvent, what the show was, and what it meant for us, because we have changed. We first performed the piece 6 years ago, and then we changed. Everything changes. The world has changed. So how is it gonna connect? Because it's all about making connections. Connecting, our actions to our imagination, connecting our experience to the experience of the audience, and to their imagination. So are we going to be able to transform that into magic? And I think well, we'll see what happens, but I think we're in good shape. It was really good to do that week all together with the new team, and sort of realize that it was still there, that it'd grown with us, that it was still reaching, it still had some life, and that we're still very hungry for it. And it'd be really interesting to hear Calum's thoughts on that. I know some of the team members were saying that they were equally feeling nervous about it. Was he gonna connect? And I think it did, and so that's why it's even more exciting to be able to come back to it, because now we're slightly more mature. We're gonna make new connections. It's gonna be different, and I think in some ways, we will have lost a few things on some aspect, but on some aspect we'll just go a little bit further. So it's really exciting to share that sort of new show almost, and hear how it connects with people.
Yeah, I think the word that springs to mind for me is just exciting. Like, it's so exciting to get to just do it, and I think with the fact that it was successful before and that it's been successful, I think it's as soon as you start relying on, oh, we've got a successful show, and that's the moment it starts to die. And it's the same with anything. As soon as you become reliant, oh yeah, that definitely works. I feel like it loses that care that you have about something when it's not perfect, and you want to mold it into this thing. I think as soon as you rest on your laurels on that, then it gets a bit dangerous. Which is one of the reasons why I really enjoy working with Deirdre, because everything is reimagined, everything is reworked, and it's constant progress of improving. And so, for me personally, I very much see it as performing a new show from the tour that we did last. It's but yeah, for me, it's a new show, and I think if I came into it thinking, oh, it's just this one again and again, then I don't think I'd have that thrill and that excitement that I think is vital.
Amazing. And for our next question, similarly, so you're performing as part of the London Mime Festival in January next year, and then where are you heading after this? And is there anywhere you're particularly looking forward to visiting? For example, any new venues or new audiences who you'll be introducing the work to for the first time?
Yeah, so maybe again I'll start, Calum, and then you can add two things. Well, I think so. The full tour is before going to London, before bringing the show back to London. We will be going to Europe for the first time. So we've toured pretty much everywhere, but we'd never been invited to come to Europe. So it's really exciting to finally be able to have a few performances in Europe. So we'll be going to Luxembourg just before coming back to London. So that's really exciting because hopefully it will open the door to more European touring, and we'd love to do that as a company. It's a territory that we haven't really been able to engage with. So that's exciting. That's really exciting. And also our partner in Luxembourg is Le Grand Théâtre du Luxembourg, which is a really well-established institution. So it's really great to sort of be part of their programming. It's really exciting. And then we're back, at the London International Mime Festival, and this is wonderful. It's pretty much, I mean, for me, it's the most exciting festival in the world, in terms of visual, physical, poetic, bold and ambitious work. It's there's nothing quite like it, and it's going to be a special year because it's the last year that the festival will run in its current form. So it's going to be quite special, and we're very much looking forward to celebrate that final year. And then it's exciting. We're going back to Salford at the Larry, and we've been to Salford it's going to be our 5th time at the Larry in a Keys Theatre, and it's exciting because every time we'd been with a new show, we'd been with a new piece, and we've been building audiences. And so to the point that now some people had sort of come across the company through Birth or through Bluebell last year, and so they sort of heard that we'd done The Nature of Forgetting, but never got to see it. So it's really nice to. So now that we've built larger audiences in that area, it's really nice to sort of be able to come back with The Nature of Forgetting and say, oh hey, this is what we've done as well. So that's really exciting to really develop a community there. We will be going to Edge Hill University near Liverpool in Ormskirk, and that's exciting because it's a new space, it's a new place. We've never been there before, and it's also a university venue. So we will be able to engage with a different kind of audience. We will be able to engage with academics, with students, in a way that we can't really do in other parts of the country. Even though I should say that everywhere on tour there will be a poster discussion, and for each poster discussion there will be a local neuroscientist from a local university who will be coming in and talk about the different scientific principles that they have been able to recognize in the work. There will also be an admiral nurse from Dementia UK who will be joining that poster discussion to talk about the real human experience and how that sort of connects with the show. So that's quite exciting. But back to the tour. Then we will be going to Newcastle. It's going to be our first time in Newcastle. We're going to be at Northern Stage in Stage 1, and this is exciting because it's a big stage, and that's where we want to be as a company. And we will be doing 3 shows there, and we have no idea what to expect because it's going to be our first time. Yeah. So as a company, in terms of our trajectory in the UK, the show has already toured in the UK, but in smaller venues. And it's quite nice to see that 6 years later we come back and we're able to sort of reach those sort of large mid-scale venues in the UK at home. Because when we go out abroad, we're immediately in the sort of those 800 seaters venues, but it's always more difficult at home. So it's really nice to just be able to be there as a company and do that. So I'm really proud of that, and and it's exciting.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think I'm fairly similar, but I think for me, like with Luxembourg, I love performing to foreign audiences. I think it's fascinating. It's so exciting to have a show that can go anywhere and anyone can understand it, and it's not restricted by language. And I think, and it's just really interesting as well to see how other countries' theatre scene works. Yeah, and I've never been there, so it's always cool to tick somewhere off, isn't it? The International Mime Festival is big one for me, because I was a student sat there watching the International Mime Festival, and now I get to be in it, and that's amazing for me to be able to have that like full circle moment. It's really rare in life, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And similarly with the Lowry, I've seen Birth and Bluebell, both of which we've got friends from, people like Claudia and Julia, who both at Monkey. Julia was in my year at Monkey, and I got to see them go and perform there and get that like little bit of jealousy in the belly, being like, I want to perform there. Just do that. That looks really cool. And so yeah, it's really nice to, when that came up, I was like, yes, fantastic.
Amazing. And I was going to say, it's amazing that you reach bigger audiences abroad than in the UK. Do you think that is because it's a show that's not reliant on language and it's so visually beautiful and it communicates visually that there isn't that barrier to understanding what the story is?
No, sorry, I didn't mean to say that, Etty. I think what I was saying is that when we're performing abroad, like in the US, for instance, or everywhere else, we are given larger venues.
Okay.
And it's usually because it's always part of a festival, or it's always part of a special occasion. So there's always and also we're exotic. so that's what I was saying, and what I was saying is that the nature of forgetting has allowed us to sort of move towards larger stages outside the UK, and it's quite nice to now be able to come back and be on those larger stages at home. So the nature of forgetting has allowed us to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but just to come back really quickly on the London International Mime Festival, especially within the context of the students at False Monkey, I think obviously they have to come and see us. But I think there are so many other shows that are just incredible that they would not normally see outside of the festival, because it's a little bit more bold, it's a little bit more daring, it's a little bit more edgy. And I would absolutely encourage them to go and really look at the program and go and see things. And it's not so much about what they like or what they don't like, but it's really about forming their minds as to what kind of work they want to be making. And I think the festival is great for that, because it will show them the array of the possible, from something that is really bonkers and out of this world to something that is equally very visual and poetic but slightly more accessible. There's an array of possibilities, and I think it's really exciting to engage and embrace that, and then it will allow them to sort of decide what kind of maker, what kind of performer they want, what kind of work they want to do. I think it's really important.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's such a good, as you say, it's an amazing opportunity to like open yourself up to all the possibilities that are out there. Okay, fantastic. So this question is for Calum. It might be slightly returning to what we discussed previously. But what appealed to you about reprising your role in the nature of forgetting and returning to the character? Might have slightly touched on it earlier, but
I think one is a no-brainer. It's one of my favourite parts that I've ever had the joy of playing. So yeah, straight away I was like, wow, this is happening, fantastic. But I think coming back on it with slightly older eyes is one of the most enticing things about this time round, because I was fairly new into the industry before, and feel like I've grounded my feet a little bit more, and know a little bit more confidence with knowing what I am, not trying to be exactly what someone's looking for, but giving the best version of yourself and what that can actually provide, because it's always going to be a much more genuine response. I think it's touched on briefly, but working with slightly different people makes keeps it really fun, for me. Can be intimidating at times, but it's just really lovely. And I think I just think he's such a fun character. He's such an enjoyable person to get in the mind of. That I'd happily play him for years and years, because I know he's always going to be Mike. That's always what he's going to be, but it's going to always develop and find a different element to himself that you can play up for a little bit and see where that takes the character, and how that will then reflect on the relationships that you have with every person on the stage. I just think like I had when I was working together with Eklo, and she just said, "Oh, just don't say yes to me all the time." And it was such a beautiful note, because straight away I was like, "Oh, she's going to give me an offer on the scene, I'm going to say no." And then I was like, "Oh, Mike's got a bit of power now, and then how is this going to change the dynamic and stuff like that?" And so I get a lot of it is just reimagining and reworking and refinding things, and just enjoy to be there.
Amazing. And similarly, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, but what are you looking forward to about working with Theatre again? And what have you learned from the acting and the creative work that you've done since you previously worked with Theatre that you are looking forward to being able to draw on and bring to the role and bring to your experiences this time?
Well, I think I'm really looking forward to the team. I think that's a beautiful element of trust and working together, and it's really fun. I think the playfulness is very easy to lose when you've got material that could be seen as sad or could be like angry and stuff like that. There's always this element of play and fun, which is so vital. And audiences as well, just being able to see how your work has affected someone. It's one of my favorite things about the show. It's so lovely to have. I remember, particularly in America, I had this wonderful man came up to us after the show, and politely explained how he really didn't want to come to see the show, and his partner really wanted to come, so he brought him along. And he was in bits, and he was so touched and moved, and he wanted to know so much about it. And it was just lovely to be able to be involved in a company that can generate that sort of a response, particularly from someone who didn't want to be there. I often find some of the best people to chat to afterwards, because they'll give you an honest response, which is really, really important. Sorry, I remember the second part of the question. And from, I think
you're cheating, Calum. You have notes.
It's been a busy day. I think with the creative stuff that I've been doing since, and I think a lot of it is going back to the toolbox that we spoke about a lot of Fourth Monkey, and having things like that. And the particularly clown for me in any element doesn't have to be funny, but so many of the beautiful vulnerabilities and stuff that you get from clown I've used in pretty much everything I've done, from theatre to TV to constantly in commercials. The absolute godsend for commercials. I think knowing that, because we were always taught that the importance of failing, and how it's so important to fail and to learn from that and carry on. And I think I lost that a bit. I think I felt like that was a student mentality, that it's really good to fail here and just here. In the actual professional world, you shouldn't fail. And then learning from all of the failures and what wonderful stuff that's produced, and knowing how important that is, and that is not a student mindset at all. It's a very, very valuable mindset to have. So I guess embracing failure, very, very important.
It's such an important lesson in life as well, to be okay with things going wrong.
Yeah, massively.
And looking back and learning from it. Amazing, thank you. So this next question is for Guillaume. So theatre-y, you've touched on this. You have employed a number of Fourth Monkey graduates over the years, including Calum. You mentioned that you like to work with people that you've already met and that you already know. So what is it about monkey actors and artists that resonates or seems to resonate with theatre-y and kind of works with how the company works?
Well, I think that the most straightforward answer is that I've spent some time with them in the room. You know, it's as simple as that. It's like it's just time spent in the room together. So I think it's as simple as that. You know, I think I'd feel very uncomfortable to welcome someone I've never met into the room. Also, I think I think the prospect of going for an audition would terrify me, and I'm pretty sure I would fail every single audition, because I think it's really hard to just be able to share, within 5-15 minutes. It's very intimidating to share who you are, what you can do, what the possibilities are, what the possibilities of transformation are for an actor, because that's what we're looking for. You know, we're not looking for something that is already there, because that's more for film or TV. Maybe we're looking for someone who will be able to transform, someone who will be able to go from A to B, and it's that journey that is exciting. So especially because within theatre, the project, it takes a lot of time. We work for a very long time in a project, and then when it tours, then it's even longer. So it's really about the journey. And I think for me, having to have the possibility to sort of work with young actors and then professional and then artists over a longer period of time is invaluable. It's really important to see how they react, to see how they respond to challenges. It's really important. Someone might just be brilliant at doing something, and I'd be thinking, oh great, we need to get them in the company, but actually they will be responding to challenges in a way that is not particularly helpful for the development of the work. And that's really important, to know how people respond, to know how people react when challenges arise, because there are a lot of challenges. It's difficult. It is really difficult. I'm not going to lie. To make a show requires a lot of it's a lot of work. So it's really important to know how people will respond. I think it's also important to also share a common vocabulary. So we're not, so obviously I really value, I think it's important to disagree. I think it's important to say no. I think it's important to challenge each other. I think I'm really up for a challenge. It's really important, because it keeps everything healthy. But it's also important equally to share a common vocabulary, to share a common ground. And I think the training that I sort of bring to Force Monkey it becomes that sort of common ground. But equally, I don't have to have trained everyone in the company. It's also really exciting to welcome different expertise in the room, different people coming from different theatre lineage, and they will come and they will challenge my practice. And that's really exciting, because then it will force me to sort of rethink, to sort of be more specific, to really not just take things for granted and just because that's the way I've been doing it and it works, but actually why are we doing it like that? Why are we even doing it? Is really important. So it's for all these reasons. And I think the training is very at Force Monkey is very complete. I think there's a lot. Students are being depending on which schools they're on, obviously, but they're being introduced to a whole set of skills, and obviously they're not expert in any of these skills because it's only a 2-year program. But it means that then they're very versatile, they're very flexible, and there is the possibility for them to specialize, and that is where I come in. I bring that specialism, and they are ready for it. They're open for it. Because there is that sort of groundwork that is sustaining their practice.
Amazing. Calum, do you have anything on that? How do you feel coming from Fourth Monkey and working with theatre-y?
Yeah, I think similar to what Guillaume's touched on at the end there, but I think I wasn't the most amazing mime in our class by any stretch. I think, but having that having that in your little toolbox and just knowing I can do that, and then what other elements can I bring to add on to it. And again, I think we like Fourth Monkey is. I think there's a tenacity to the students that I've got to meet and the ones that I've got to share my experience with. That's really great, really great. I don't know if it was still. I can't remember what the exact saying was, but it was something about having blisters on your feet from running too much, and how it's like a mark of pride. And you're like, yes, done well. And I really enjoyed that. So I was just like, yeah, I was like, you're literally doing everything that you can to get yourself in a ready position. And I felt ready for the industry when I came out. I didn't think I was an expert in anything particularly, but I knew that I had so many different options of where I could go, what I could do with what I've learned, and what it could take further. What I felt like, I've done enough training in that, or I want to develop this bit further, and how is this going to aid me? Yeah, it was absolutely vital to the training.
Amazing. Thank you. And this is kind of a similar question for Guillaume. But you've been teaching at Fourth Monkey as a practitioner for a while now. Again, kind of coming back to what you enjoy about working in a drama school environment and in that teaching environment, and what you enjoy about working with actors who are still in training.
Well, it's a completely different world. I think there's something incredibly exciting about working with actors in training, because there's just no pressure, and it allows you to be, and maybe it's a mindset, and maybe I need to work on it, but it allows you to be a lot more free, and therefore the work is probably a lot more exciting, because there is no pressure. There's no, I mean, the only pressure is to make sure that it's a learning experience for the actors in training, to make sure that they're gaining something out of that process. It's not about serving a piece, it's not about serving a vision, or it's not about an end product. It's really about a process to allow every single individual on that journey to grow, and that is really exciting. So it's a different mindset, and so the pressure is more on the journey than the actual end product. And when the pressure is on the journey, then it's really exciting, because then it sort of gives you permission to just be a lot bolder, because it's about the exploration. So let's explore, let's play, let's play. When you're in a more professional setting, I shouldn't say that we have to deliver, but we do. And because we're still a fragile organization. Our life is at stake every time we put a new show on. So we have to get it right. Otherwise, this might be the end of the company. So I guess the life of the company is not at stakes when we do a show within a drama school setting, and that's brilliant.
Amazing. I guess it's that freedom, as Calum was saying, to play and to fail and to see what does and doesn't work, and to see people learning from that, which is exciting. Okay, amazing. So coming towards the end of our conversation, what do you think, or what have you felt has changed about Theatre and the company as you continue to evolve and to develop over time?
What has changed about the company?
Yeah,
I think we're just, first of all, we're a lot more organized, hopefully. I think we're a lot more established. We're a lot more sturdy on our feet. So over the past few years, because the company has grown, the company has, we had to transform in the way we operate. We now have an advisory group that's supporting everything that the executive team is doing. We have formalized all our training arm, so we do a lot more work with secondary schools, colleges, and universities to support the shows that we're taking out. We respond to a lot of commissions from the outside, so for other organizations like like Force Monkey, for instance, or the drama schools, or the organizations that would sort of commission us to do a show for them. We have also developed something called resources, where we share a lot about how we work, about our process, about our journeys, about our explorations, about everything we do and how we do it, so that it's also accessible to a wide range of people. And we're also in the process of developing something else called Reach, where we would aim to sort of create work with the non-professional work for community groups, that are, having with people that are leading difficult lives, and sort of create work with them. So it's also another development of the company. So obviously we're still a touring company. We're making shows, but we're trying to also branch out and have several other arms and strengths, all of which will enrich the development of the work and the research and the practice in general.
Amazing. And just to kind of wrap up our conversation, this is for both of you, but what do you hope that audiences will take away from seeing The Nature of Forgetting? And is there anything else you might like to share with anyone who listens to this conversation or who is thinking about coming to see the show?
Calum, do you want to start, or should I start?
Yeah, I think well, if you're thinking about the show, come and see it. You'll love it. I think I don't have a particular thing that I would like audiences to take away from it. I think they will take something, and I would like to know what that is. I think it's more interesting that way around, because it could provoke something. It could. The main thing, the way that I tend to judge if a show is worth it and if it's working, is if it makes you think, and if it's making you think about different things and that's staying in your head and it stays with you, then that's wonderful. And so I know from my past experiences as an audience member that there was, like, I vividly remember my conversation with the three people I went to see, talking about it the entirety of the way home. And the next day we woke up and we were chatting about it again. And I think that's what I really loved about it, was that there's so many different elements that you can take away from it, and it's impossible for us to know which point is going to be the poignant moment for you. So yeah, I think if you're interested, if it's tickled any part of your brain, I think get down there, because it's a wonderful experience to enjoy. And,
yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything to add. I think Calum has put it quite beautifully there. I think for me, theatre has to be life-changing. Otherwise, it's not worth going. Otherwise, you might as well just watch Netflix. So I think the aim, and it might feel pretentious or overly ambitious, but I think for us the aim is to really change people's lives, and so that's the ambition, and so let's see if we succeed.